Nick, you are on, my friend. Let's do this.
We're live?
We're live. We are so live right now.
We're live right this very moment. All right.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm ready. I was busy browsing. Hey, this is Techsplanation 2.0, where we talk about the technology and have a little fun with it at the same time. Today is our tech support show. So we're going to answer some questions. We're going to show off something new and interesting and just kind of get into general news about what's going on in the industry. Now, me by myself is boring, and so today I decided to have a little fun and bring on a guest to be a part of the show. So I want to introduce everybody, Jeremy Morris from NewTek.
Jeremy, hi, Nick. How are you guys?
Hey, marvelous. We're live on air. We're talking to people. We're having fun. We're playing with the tech. So, it's always fun. Jeremy, tell everybody where you're at, what you do, and then I have a question for you.
All right. So Jeremy Morris, Senior Sales Engineer with NewTek. I'm based out of my shed in Sonoya, Georgia, where I do all my live demos. All my TriCasters are here. We do all the pre-sales and workflow and discussion, all the fun, cool stuff that is with NewTek and NDI, and even interfacing with you guys and a lot of cool workflow and out-of-the-box thinking and what we're able to do and connect up and solve people's problems. So I'm happy to be here today.
And I'm happy to have you. Thank you. I know it was a little last minute pulling you into the show, so I apologize in advance. But we're going to do some cool stuff and make up for it. So I said I had a question for you. So here's my question of the day. Indiana Jones 5. Excited or not?
Always.
Just because it's indie?
You just started with you just say Indiana Jones, and then I'm in. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So it's super funny. My daughter, in her history class, they played the fourth movie, and she couldn't remember. She'd never seen any of them. She comes back, she goes, yeah, they played Indiana Jones, and it was weird. I didn't understand it. And then I said, well, were there aliens in it? And she goes, yeah. I said, well, that technically is not canon. That one doesn't count. So I started her back on number 1. We're working our way forward.
Okay, well, that's fine. But 4 is still good. It still works.
Okay, fair enough.
I like it.
Shia. Yeah.
It does not work.
Right.
Objectively, it does not work. That's how I'm introducing myself. My name is Jordan Friday. I'm pushing buttons.
Coming back full circle with Marion. I mean, come on now. I mean, that's
fair enough. I agree.
That closed a huge loop.
So we'll see. But no, I am excited for 5. I think it's interesting, which brings me to a really, so one of my first, kind of conversational pieces today. Jordan, if you pull up the screen, give my video screen.
Got it.
How is AI transforming video production? And I thought this was really interesting. This was posted on a Motion Queue, and it's really a story about how in The Irishman, they're de-aging people. And they're using this technology to make people look younger than they are and produce a whole film. And if you think about it, sort of like this is all AI based, right? And there's some really interesting effect here. If I pull up my screen, I used an engine recently called AI Avatar to generate avatars from photos, right? And so this was my sci-fi photo. This was my if I were a younger man and wore a cool gray suit photo. It's interesting. And these are all 100% AI based off of, giving the software multiple images. And so I thought this was very interesting because from a concept of a photography studio where, you would bring people in and put different backdrops behind them, you almost don't need to anymore. You could have a bunch of photos sent of yourself and somebody could manage an AI to
really cool.
generate a bunch of photos. And it's kind of an interesting concept. But here we have sort of this being evolved into the film industry where we're taking people and, sort of making movies with their younger versions of themselves. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, you just brought up Indiana Jones 5. Apparently that's how they start off. The beginning of the movie is a de-aged Harrison Ford. I don't know what scene it was, but I saw there was a write-up about it, how they de-aged him for a few of the at least of the intro portions of that movie, because he's 80 years old, so it's going to be kind of hard to follow that timeline. So it is interesting. I guess Tom Cruise has been doing this for the last 30 years on his own about the de-aging, but now it's fun to see it actually in software. He's been doing it in hardware, analog, but it's. In video, it's always going to be interesting, and I've said this for a long time when I've done demos, especially with TriCasters and virtual sets. We've got everything in that set is fake except for the talent usually, and so I've even thrown that about that. It's always fake news because there's nothing real on screen at any given moment, because you've got your graphics, your on airs, or even the background, the sets or whatnot. This is like one of my only times where I am coming from a live virtual space. I don't have my green screen up, so you do see the background, you do see the real walls. That's unusual for me. Usually when I did demos, I was always in a virtual production environment. So it's almost been second nature for a long, long time when you see content being produced in live television or even on streaming or whatnot. And of course, everything in Hollywood is always done in post. So there's no such thing as a live movie. So it's always going to be manipulated and added and do things like that. So just the AI technology and what you're able to do with it, and I think it's going to be very exciting. I mean, they've been doing AI for a long time. I know in like sponsorship tagging, like for NASCAR races and stuff like that, when they try to figure out, when the cars are on the track, when you see them on screen, they used to have someone with the stopwatch for the advertisers to say, okay, I was on for, I'm clicking the seconds, I'm running down how long I see that car. Now all that's being generated from the AI, and now all that is computed and now given back to the advertisers, so they know exactly how long, the cars were on the track and visual through the screen. So AI has been utilized in a wide variety of areas and things for a long, long time. But I do think now with it becoming so easy to get access to, I mean, everyone was playing around on Facebook with the Lensa app and things like that. And also deep fakes.
Yep.
Deep fakes became so cool and so, interesting. And now there's even technology to identify deep fakes. So we're going the other direction now.
It's interesting because if I go back a couple of years, I mean, AI was really about post-production. It was about taking a video file and processing the image. And now we're seeing it in real time in the cameras, in all these other elements that AI sort of, it's here in sort of a real-time manner where we're not post-processing, we're processing right in the moment. I mean, even think about like within your guys' landscape, you've utilized AI technology to do audio sweetening within the TriCasters, right? I mean, it's a very simple thing that can do so much. And now to see this sort of come into, virtual production. So I posted a link for everybody, and, this was the story that we're actually chewing on here, which was how the Irishman, how they de-aged everybody in The Irishman from Netflix. So that link is there, and for the show audience to kind of chew on and take a look at. It's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned virtual production. So let's talk about the next one, which is sort of like, what is this virtual production thing everybody's talking about? So Amazon Studios just announced the opening of Stage 15, which is a virtual studio. And so basically this is an LED volume. They're big LED walls that people can stand in front of and film rather than a green screen, which creates, a lot of post-production nightmares, so to speak. Now, virtual production creates its own post-production and pre-production nightmares, but it does give the talent on set a actual clue of what's going on, right? Because they can see it behind them, they can see it beside them, it changes some of the lighting effects. So this is interesting. We're seeing this more and more sort of come into all realms of production, which is, hey, can I produce on LED rather than produce on green screen? What have you seen on this so far? Are you finding this out there, Jeremy?
Yeah, this is an exploding technology, and we saw the success from The Mandalorian and how it was shot in the round. For some people talk about that, using that phrase again. We're going back to the old black box theater ways of doing production. But yeah, the technology just in the walls themselves, so you get away from whatever I'm shooting from a camera perspective, it doesn't look fake. It actually has that realism, the light, the pixel pitch does make it a lot easier to film. But then also you got to think about from a content creation standpoint, what used to be done in post, you have to have that done now pre-production, because that landscape, that image has to be being played live as you're filming, because you don't want that to screw up. Oh yeah, that depth is off or that color space is off. You got to have all that done way in advance before you even come in to start shooting. So I think the pressure now is on a lot of the graphics folks to get a lot of stuff done way in advance, so when the actor steps in an environment, it is real. But it also kind of changes from an actor's perspective. And you mentioned that before, you're all shooting in green screen and you're reacting to something fake that may or may not ever be there. You think about going back from Jurassic Park and how that was shot, and how there was nothing, people had to use fake props or whatnot to have that. Okay, I got to look at something. Now you really can look at something. You're looking on that wall or outside that car. The landscape is moving behind you. And in that shot, or in that Amazon thing, if you go back and watch, there's one of the stories you talk about, Helen Mirren's, one of her movies or something was shot in that, and she talks about that experience. It's like, wow, I'm actually looking out at space. And so it changes her perspective, and she actually has a realistic reaction to her environment now, rather than trying to make one up. So I do think it's going to change how production is done, not only from a speed, like how quickly you can actually put content out, because you're walking into an already built space. But I think that pre-production aspect is going to be really key now to make sure they get it right, because you can't really fix that in post.
Yeah, no. Well, in this part, yeah, because it's there, it's baked
Yeah,
into the image,
it's
so to
there in
speak.
front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the concept of fixing in post becomes a whole new beast in that regard. Yeah, this is true. We showed this. If you remember back at NAB, we had a TriCaster driving an LED wall to kind of showcase to people, sort of like, hey, this is what it feels like and looks like, and how you can achieve it. But it is a growth market that we're definitely got our sort of our eyeballs on, and we're building systems for people in this space, because it is a way, like, we have a corporate customer who is like, hey, we have a set, but the set's only for the CEO, and then so do we that means we don't really have a set that we can use. But once they converted that to digital, it's like, hey, we in 2 button clicks we get the CEO set, and 3 button clicks later it's gone and we can do something else, right? So it's that very quick changeover of being able to utilize a space much more efficiently, and I think that's killer.
Yeah, you can combine presets, and even if you want to run things through a TriCaster and do it from a mix effect standpoint, where we see this also with Unreal, because we're able to now use NDI and get in and out of Unreal Engine pretty seamlessly with the TriCaster. So now we're able to then move inside that environment. Now we have a virtual and physical in the same space. I know your mind starts to lock up a little bit, but we can bring in content, whether or not that's someone physically on set and then someone else that's virtually coming in, and now they're standing side by side in an Unreal environment that's also blended to look like it's a real set. It's a crazy time to be in video, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, most assuredly. Yeah, we're not arguing. We're loving it. All right, let's pivot a little bit and talk about this. So this is a story that I saw come up, and I thought this was really impressive. So AMC Movie Theaters is partnering with Zoom to create Zoom rooms on the big screen. And it's really kind of interesting that if we think about a world that has gone virtual, that has gone remote, the concept of being able to come together and enjoy. So if you're in a city where you may have 30, 40, 50, 100 of your fellow employees all working from home, there isn't that really capability to sort of get together and enjoy a moment within your company without being in a that Bird Box kind of Brady Bunch fish. And so this concept of being able to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and put that Zoom session up on a big screen means you could come together with a large group of your coworkers that are spread out and enjoy watching a company announcement, something big. So it was just a very interesting pivot, and obviously with all the production capability that sort of we have with Zoom these days, it sort of comes right to our dealer channel and say, hey, look, we can be outfitting these companies with the ability to do this and put that Zoom up on the screen.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool. And so you've got Teams and gallery mode. I think AMC or Zoom and AMC said, here, hold my beer or hold my popcorn. And now you're in that gallery mode in a real theater. So my biggest thing is, being the engineer is, how I'm going to echo cancel that space out from a microphone perspective, how we're going to pick up audio from the entire thing. Now I have some ideas. And if I was back, as a design engineer from a dealership, I could definitely, lay out the audio path or how we're going to pick up everybody in that room. But that's the only challenge that I see is how well is that going to be received and then utilized? Yes, it's everyone going into a theater to watch everybody up on screen, but then how are you going to have that interaction capability? And obviously got to have cameras outfitted somewhere, and you're not going to punch a hole in the middle of the screen so you get an actual dead-on shot. So you're going to have to get creative with camera positioning and things like that. So but I do think it's a very interesting experience. I think there's a lot of fun that could be had with that, and it gives AMC another way to generate revenue by renting out their theaters. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think following where kind of your thread was going, I don't believe there's going to be a lot of open mics in this room. I think more than likely you're going to have a station to go step up to and say, I want to talk, right?
No, everybody has throat mics.
Everybody has
everybody.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, I could do some beamforming microarray stuff. I could ceiling mounts. Yes, I could make that room sing. I'm not worried about that. But that's a lot of cost involved, especially in a large theater that's going to get utilized like once a month if they're lucky. So.
It's still, like you said, it's an interesting pivot, though, for this theater that's probably sitting pretty dark during the daytime, right? They might get a few people watching the latest release in the morning, but could that be pivoted over to an event like this and give a corporation a more controlled environment for their employees to kind of unite and watch whatever it is that they want to present? Yeah.
Well, especially if you're dealing with large multinational corporations or things like that want to do like an all-hands meeting, and you've got offices spread all over the country or all over the world. I do think it could be very beneficial, because then you can bring people back in to where they may even have a physical office anymore. I know a lot of the big cities, I just moved out of DC a couple months ago, but I know there's a lot of those co-working spaces or whatnot that went vacant during COVID because people weren't going back in the office anymore. Everything was being done remote, so there wasn't an office to even go back to. So they just stayed remote. I think this would give people the ability then to still be able to congregate as co-workers into a space again. So I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I love every minute of it. All right, I've got one more story. We're gonna come back to it because it actually involves you guys and something you're doing. So we're gonna come back to that, and it's part of our later showcase. In the meantime, we're gonna pivot over to our actual tech support calls. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be fun. So we have scoured the interwebs and specifically the NDI forums to look at questions that people are asking on the forums. And Jeremy and I are going to pull those up on screen, and we're going to talk about these and answer them in real time right here on the show. All right, so Mr. Jordan, give us our first question.
We're gonna do the first one? Okay.
Yeah. We need like some kind of music that's like tech support.
I know. I need a stinger. Remind me.
Totally.
Remind me. I will make a stinger for this. Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
For next episode.
Just
exactly.
like a phone ring, desktop phone ring.
Ring. Tech support.
You both said it at the same time. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, you ready for the first one?
Ready for the first one.
Let's do it. Here we go. So I'll read it out for anybody who can't read it because it is kind of long, this first one.
Hold on, I need a magnifying glass.
I know.
Somebody
it's
get
a long
Greg's glasses up here.
I'm sorry. It's a long one. Here we go.
Right, here we go.
So, has anyone encountered issues with network adapters shutting down after a period of time? I've had a long-standing issue when bringing NDI into my production. After around 3, 4, 5 hours, I lose all NDI sources. Previously, I've had to reboot to get them back. Not ideal when you're in the middle of a stream. I can well imagine. If I disconnect the switch and reconnect it, the adapter will state identifying but never identify. If I connect the switch to another machine, my sources come back instantly, which leads me to believe my issue is with the adapter. To confirm this, I disabled the adapter, then re-enabled it, and boom, working again. Could it be faulty or maybe a power management issue? Just trying to see if anyone else has suffered similar issues. For reference, I'm using an onboard 10G adapter with an X299 motherboard. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I'd love. Jeremy and I are in sync today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know a little bit more about.
There's so many things here.
Yeah, the switch fabric would be a really interesting one. What's going on in the switch? I mean, we've encountered some interesting issues with dropouts and things like that. And a lot of times we've come back to, we have too many switches in the mix, too many things connected, not enough control over the top of that. It's rare for me to see a network adapter drop off and just stop performing, especially one that is built into the motherboard. Those tend to be pretty solid. If this was like a USB one, I'd start to, say, okay, well, maybe you need to do an onboard adapter or a PCI card. But, I'd be wanting to think about the network switch because that to me would be my next chain of attack.
Yeah, because NDI doesn't time out. So anything that would cause it to time out would be something, a policy on the network. If it's a corporate network, what's going on there? What's the firewall restrictions? Do you have Windows Firewall enabled?
Yeah, there's like some weird, QoS here that's crushing the data over a certain time. Yeah.
Yeah, that does actually call tech support, not me.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Ring. Sorry, can't help you. Call again. Click. Okay.
Yeah, go to tier 2. Go to tier 2 on that one.
Get a better motherboard. Oh, no, just kidding.
Right, yeah, it's possible.
You want the next question? What hardware is that? So back up a second. It's like, what hardware are you actually talking about? If this, the X9 motherboard, that means nothing to me because we're talking about an actual TriCast.
I think it's an MSI, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
But what's that motherboard living inside of?
Right.
If it's inside of a TriCaster, then yes, I can point you to certain different things. If this is a DIY box, if this is like my HP Z tower that's down here, that behaves a tad bit different than how my TriCasters do. I just do know how to manage that because again, the TriCaster is a purpose-built production appliance. It's already set up to handle this kind of a thing. My tower was fresh out of the box. I had to tweak it and set it up the correct way to make it work the way I needed to. So that right there kind of sets the stage. Is this a predefined piece of hardware or is this a DIY solution that you're just trying to get NDI to flow? So that definitely changes, where the conversation needs to go.
Agreed. No, too many variables there that we don't have the answers to. So Bring us the
Yep.
next
It
one,
happens.
Jordan.
It happens. Here we go. Here's the next one. So this question comes from Richard. So he says, I have 2 PepLink routers at 2 different locations that use Fusion Hub between them. I have a public IP working on both sides, but I can't seem to get the ports open. This all works fine. This all works with SDI fine, but I like the idea of being able to swap NDI sources as much as I need. Can anyone help me figure out how to do this using PepLink equipment?
Yeah, so this is Jeremy. I don't know how familiar you are with PepLink. I think these are really interesting. They're basically VPN boxes, that you can put in. So, have you done much with NDI on those?
I have not personally. I know people that have tried. We have some dealers out there that do sell the PepLink stuff. I just not personally been able to have my hands on one or to set it up. But if anything, yeah, the ports would definitely be inside the software to open that up to allow not only the NDI traffic to flow, but if you have it just set up as edge devices, and then you've got a computer that can run NDI bridge, that would then solve that answer. So then bridge would be able to handle that handshake and do the port forwarding. So that's all you would need to do is set the port forwarding on the PepLink router, then to allow the NDI traffic to flow using bridge, and then you'd be fine.
Yeah, and I think, ideally, as good as VPNs are, I think for like live streaming video like that, I would resolve to bridge to better control that bandwidth shaping, so to speak, that we get when utilizing bridge versus just trying to go mass, NDI. And in going mass NDI or kind of uncompressed NDI, you're looking at, much larger bandwidth than you could get by using bridge and controlling that path. So really, for me, it's like that PepLink.
Especially if, I was gonna say if the PepLink is stepping on it somehow by its own default configuration. If it's not opening up a port wide enough or even having enough bandwidth by default, it could be causing some, might pose some issues. So you'd have to go in the settings and make sure it can be opened full throttle for NDI to flow back and forth.
Yeah, and then the last piece of that one I thought was really interesting is they were talking about Fusion Hub. Fusion Hub was actually a virtual software receiver to connect like VM appliances in the cloud or on-prem to one of those receivers. So I was really curious why, if they had 2 devices, why they were using Fusion Hub, and why not they were just VPN to each other at that point. So I think there might be some extra software kind of in the mix. However, in the end, he actually hasn't tried it yet, so we don't know. In this case, he was talking about using an SDI encoder to get in. So I think NDI is free. You can fire up the software and test very, very easily. But my recommendation would be fire up Bridge and run bridge, because to me that is a much more solid way of getting that bandwidth shaped across that PepLink device.
That's a great answer, guys. Nice. Perfect.
You're just saying that because the last one was so bad because we didn't have enough data. So
no, it happens.
You're just making fun of us. I see how it is.
Not at all. Not at all. So next one.
All
right, here we go. This one comes from Mihai. So he says, issues using the latest version of NDI bridge between 2 spaces, 2 live HX NDI streams in remote space and 2 live HX NDI streams, plus 1 normal NDI stream in the host space. After a while, the streams freeze and the NDI bridge is reporting on both ends that 0 Mbps or megabytes per second are sent and receiver. So on both sides. After I stop one of the bridges, the stream starts again. But after a while, it stops again, and so on and so forth. Anyone else experiencing this? What do you guys think?
So if I read that right, so it's a host and 2 connections, or a host and a single connection? Because either one of them, if you're getting 0 readout on both send and receive, then there's a problem with the public internet. So it's either your router or something like that. So you can maybe adjust your encode settings and dial the bandwidth down a little bit to see if that might help. You may not have enough pipe between spaces to allow for that constant connection. So I would definitely try to dial that down to start and to see what you're coming, because I do this all the time, and I do remote productions, or I'm doing gigs out, or I'm taking gear on the road to do shows. I'm running bridge, and a lot of times I'm running on a hotspot. And if I can pull off 2 to 3 meg on my 4G hotspot to do NDI back and forth, and by the way, control my TriCaster, that's pretty pretty effective. But usually when I get issues where it drops off, there has to be something going on with the ISP. Is Comcast having an issue, or Verizon's having an issue, or something like that? Because once the connection's made, the connection's made. If you're getting drops on both, that means you don't have a connection. So if you have to leave it and go back, that could also be a setting in your router. If the router isn't configured correctly, even though you may only have the one port that you have to forward for bridge, which is usually the case, there might be some additional settings inside your router to make sure it stays up the entire time. If you're not flooding it, or if the receive side, same thing. If you're out there locally and you don't have a strong enough internet connection, or you're trying to piggyback off a hotel Wi-Fi, I've tried that, and get dropouts, quite a bit. Yeah, I've had a long, come to Jesus meeting with a few hotel IT folks in my career over what they're doing with their internet policy stuff. But yeah, so there's some things there to check.
And then that's one I want to hone in on is the internet, right? I mean, we always look to the technology on either end and go, oh, it's broken. But we've talked about this internally,
Yeah.
like the internet is a whole bunch of servers trying to communicate together, right? And so we don't know if their ISP is more of a consumer-centric ISP that says, hey, we'll only allow you to, so much upload, or is there bandwidth restrictions? Are they coming into peak hours where that, the local area network is starting to really tamp down on the users because too many people are trying to do, Netflix all at the same time. So there's always these issues when we're dealing with more consumer-centric ISPs where it's like, we don't know what they're doing to the signal. We don't know how they're managing somebody who's pushing a large amount of data across their connection. And some of those ISPs really, like, hey, sorry, you've hit your bandwidth cap for the week or the month or especially.
Or if you're trying to tether to your iPhone, you may have unlimited data, but that's only, for very little, pull back and forth. That's not for live streaming. Yep. So that might be killing you as well, depending on how you're connecting to the internet.
So as always, internet, please give us more data. You never give us enough. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a few other people asked the same question on that one.
You looked at me when you were talking about how much data was being used. Were you looking at me because I'm a gamer?
No. You and I have talked about this often about, this concept of, even cloud, right? That's just somebody else's data center. It's not yours. And ISPs, like we often think about our cell phones as like, hey, it's my tower communicating to the next tower. It's not. It's me communicating to a tower, and then it goes fiber from that point forward. And it's just oftentimes we just don't think about like, for me to get a connection from the West Coast to the East Coast, how many servers am I bouncing that signal through, right? How many traffic paths does it go through where something could be stifling that signal? This is why broadcasters use satellite dishes, to be perfectly frank. Yeah.
Agreed. You ready for the next one, my friend?
Next question, please.
All right, here we go. That's the same one. Hang on.
Yeah,
here we go.
let's do that one.
Let's do the next one. So Scott asks, I'm running a setup for my church that runs the liturgical screens, and I'm adding a second computer so that I can run a lower third out of OBS for broadcast. Currently, the laptop we run our liturgical screen from has 3 monitors attached. The screen attached to the laptop, the liturgical screens themselves, HDMI out Cat6 extenders that go to the large panel displays, and a wireless display connection to a Microsoft wireless display adapter plugged in to a battery-powered monitor that sits in the front of the altar. Wow. I run an NDI screen, and I am able to see all 3 screens as available NDI sources on the secondary computer, but only one actually transmits screen 2. The other 2 screens do not initialize and only show black. I don't mind only one screen transmitting, but I need it to be screen 3. The one that rolls wireless. Suggestions?
First off,
where to start on that?
Yeah, let's talk about how you're distributing to all your screens. Let's get the wireless out of there, please.
What was that? There was a Microsoft wireless adapter?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Somebody didn't want to run an extra Cat 5 cable. With screen capture...
I want to know what software he's using. Yeah.
It's on the OBS side or on the other side?
No, on the computer side. Like he's trying to run the screen stuff, but what software is he outputting from?
Right.
Because that could be shutting off. And also, what's the driver on the laptop supports? Because screen capture will be able to sit whatever, but if the driver is not supported on that output side, then there's not going to be any additional screens to show up over NDI because it's not inside the driver settings inside Windows, unless they're running on a Mac. If they're running on a Mac, all bets are off.
Yeah, and the other question on that one is, do you have screen capture set to only show a specific app? I mean, because there's ways to manage screen capture differently.
Right.
On PC, you can choose which app, you can choose which screen. So, I mean, the other piece of that one is I'm really curious if it's wireless. I mean, that's one thing we've noticed. I mean, that might be more bandwidth coming off that computer than the wireless NIC port can handle. Is it a wired connection that's running to the other machine? How is sort of what does that network topology look like?
And if it's a wireless HDMI extender, there could be an EDID issue, where it's only going to have one monitor output, and so that'll kill any type of streaming from it, anyways. So that's a thought. But yeah, there's a lot there that they're trying to get away with, and I get it.
Most assuredly.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, you say you have one more, or?
Yeah, so I mean, well, we've got many more, but we're coming up at the half hour.
Yeah, let's skip. So okay, we had one more story we want to talk about. We need a bump. Okay, here's our outro music. Tech support. Over. Okay, so join us next month as we tackle more questions on tech support. Okay, so I had one more story I wanted to talk about, and then we have the quiz show, and they all kind of wrap together. So, oh wait, that's not the story.
No, sorry.
Let's get that. Okay, there it is. VizRT Group acquires Flowics Control Magic. Jeremy, VizRT Group is you guys. What is Flowics?
Yeah. Flowics is an online HTML5 generated graphics platform. So now you can pretty much have graphics output from anywhere you want to across the globe. As long as you're on public internet, you can get that URL link. And now I can populate that into my production switcher. They even have an NDI translator if you want to do it on-prem. So now I can just bring in whatever, shoot that into NDI, and then bring that into a TriCaster or inside of our VizRT with like the Vector Plus and things like that. We've got that graphic populated inside the cloud as well. So it's a very cool system from a content creation perspective, from a playout aspect. You can have all types of stuff generated, populated inside your Flowics account, and from an operator's perspective or from an end user. So content creation, I can build it completely different from the outputs, and I load that into the player, and then that's completely on another state, another continent even, but I'm still bringing that stream in across the network, and now my lower third can populate that way. And then we also talk about, from a control perspective, the plugins, what we're able to then deal with, not just from a scoreboard aspect in sports, but you're also talking about from like Twitter feed, social media aspects, other types of control content can be brought in and populated inside that graphics system. If you think about voting machines for like council meetings or whatnot, or stock market tickers, all that information can update on weather maps, all that kind of information that's data driven now is now populated inside your graphics without anything that has to be done from an end user's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, all you need at that point is an internet connection. I mean, your data is there. So that's really interesting. Jordan, throw my screen up. So I actually have a Flowics account here that we set up. And, this is sort of a quick example. Like, here's a 4-box solution. We got, lower thirds, upper shoulders, middle of the screen. And we can sort of drag and drop content into these different sections to sort of, let me get that up in the center there, to kind of fill different blocks and then have different, channels of data. And these can be independent. They can all be part of one. And then all Jordan has to do is put a URL. So in this particular case here, I can do your open output. And this is what the output is going to look like.
And I can throw it up like that.
Yeah, and I give him the URL and boom, it's right there. Now, more importantly, this is modifiable. And I think this is where you were going to like voting and connectivity. I don't have to be in the same building as Jordan. I can come in and say, here's my Flowics channel, and I can update that in a real time on air. It updates. So this is really interesting to me, because now we have this concept that graphics can be sort of done from anywhere. And if we think of where Bridge is and where all these technologies that were sort of, you guys are enabling over NDI and over, the cloud, so to speak, this is now says, hey, my camera operators might be in one state, my TriCaster might be in another, my talent might be another, and now my graphic person can be anywhere. Right, generating graphics and pushing those right back into the TriCaster. So definitely interesting. I think, Jeremy, you've got a channel of video there that you can. Jordan, you have his lower third.
I do indeed. Yeah. Do you want me to throw it up?
Okay, so to have a little fun with this is what I was going to do. So yeah, go ahead and throw Jeremy's up on screen.
Okay. This one's a little bit different. I don't know if he can change this one.
All right, I just wanted to show it.
Yeah.
I mean,
boom.
Okay, so this is coming from your Flowics account, not from mine.
Correct.
That's right.
And well, a little bit different. This is one of our demos that we can play with inside. So now I'm able to change. It's like that player information button. I'm controlling that based on the triggers. I can even bring in, who are the officials for the game tonight? We've got all these available triggers from a control aspect. I can either control it manually, or that can also be brought into a larger automation system. So now that can control how the graphics are being played back, but based on that automation queue. So there's so many different things you can build into this. So yeah, so I did do the bug on one of them. Oh yeah, the fouls. That's another one that can. On my side of my window that I'm controlling this from, there's so many different controls and things that are popping up right now of where that information is coming from. That is kind of crazy. But yeah, so that was the flout, and then this other one was the blocks. Yeah, so this is being done underneath on the bottom here, and I'm moving my mouse across the screen like I'm actually doing a demo for you, but you can't see that. No. But again, all these different things, all these different triggers are being played off of the controls and overlays that are built into how that graphics package was created. So from a content creation aspect of it, once they hand it off, that's fine, it's over with. From a control aspect of it, now it's just clicking and playing, and all that information that's populated in that graphic is coming from somewhere else. Either that's coming from a watch folder, that's coming from CSV data inputs, of text fields, other types of data that's being transmitted anywhere on a local network or even across public internet. They're accumulating all that data information, that raw info, and now populating it inside of a graphic image that shows up on screen. So it's incredibly cool technology.
No, it really is. And okay, so we're gonna play with it a little bit here just to showcase kind of something that can be done. All right, so Jeremy, do you have your other graphic ready?
Sort of.
All right, let's go ahead and cue it.
I sent it.
Well, I don't have it.
What?
I need his URL.
It was in the chat.
Oh yeah,
was it
in the chat?
Oh my gosh, you put it in the chat.
I'll do it again.
There it is. Okay, so this is how quickly. Okay, so we're gonna play a game show, and Jeremy and I are gonna compete. Jordan is going to ask us a question, and then we're going to enter our answers in a channel of data that he has the ability to then bring on air, just to kind of showcase how nimble and quick this can kind of be in utilizing Flowics to generate data to go on screen, right? And how simple graphics can be. So Jordan, if you bring up my screen right now, flip to my laptop here for a moment. So this is my Flowics control screen right here. So here's my channel of data, and you can see I've got sort of a header, a title. I mirrored out the subtitle, but I can quickly come in here and let's go quiz answer update. You can see how quickly it reflects on screen. So, and then you have that data that you can then bring up on screen. So we're going to bring up the Q&A. Let me know when you got.
Yep, I've got his now.
You've got his now.
Sorry about that.
All right. Let's bring up the two box.
That's fine. Just in my infinite wisdom, I did not make mine controllable, so I'll do this quickly on the fly. So,
okay.
Oh wait,
live
so
TV, folks.
Who am I? Am I asking a trivia question?
You're a trivia question. Do you have our graphics? Can you put them up on air?
Yeah. You want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Put them up in air.
Boom.
All right. There's my answer. So there it is. And there's Jeremy Morris. Oh, look, he had a photo on his.
I know. That looks sick.
You're making me look bad here. This is great. Okay. All right. You ready, Jordan? Give us our first.
Okay. So you guys are going to fill these out, and then you're going to...
And then we're going to update it live on air.
You're going to launch them.
Put our graphics back on air.
Okay.
Back on it.
Right now?
Yes. Because it's going to happen in real time. We're going to update
I'm not going to do it one at a time. I'm so sorry. I understand what's happening now. Okay.
See what happens.
Yep. This is going to be funny.
Or it's
going to be a complete disaster. I don't know which, but we're going to try it. All right. Ready?
Okay.
Quiz.
I just
ready?
signed into this like an hour ago, so...
All right. Here we go.
Ready.
What are the names of Cinderella's stepsisters? If you can think of it.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. You asked me to do whatever kind of trivia I wanted to do, so this is entertainment.
I'm gonna go with.
And spelling doesn't count.
Yeah, fair enough. That's like the one Disney show my kids have never been into.
Is Cinderella?
Yeah.
It's a freaking classic, dude.
I'm aware. Jeremy's over there Googling.
I know. I was about to say.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to get my thing updated.
Drizella.
Yeah. Hey, that is perfect. Yeah, no, the answer is Anastasia and Drizella. I don't know where you got Bella
I got
from.
one of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Give us a new one. Give us a new one.
Right. All right. So clear those out.
Clear the deck. Clear the deck.
Okay. Here's the next one. What famous U.S. festival hosted over 350,000 fans in 1969?
Oh, got it. This one.
Come on.
Boom.
Yep.
He can see it.
What?
Yeah, I know. And I knew the answer is when my screen got stuck because I was trying to clear out the Drizella thing. So again, yeah, it comes down to operator error.
You gotta like have him like not look at the screen or something.
Which
I don't know.
screen?
His screen. He can see the answers.
All
Yeah.
right, fair
Okay.
enough.
I
fair
knew
enough.
the answer. I couldn't type it. It was like yellow wood stock when that thing walked up.
Love it.
All
Loving
right,
it.
all
This
right,
is the best.
all right. Next one. Here we go.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Here we go.
Clearing my answer.
This one. This is a little more complicated. Here we go. The biggest selling music single of all time is what?
Oh, come on now.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
I think I'm way wrong on this
I
one.
have one too.
All right. Tell you what, type it in and then we'll both reveal at the same time.
I'll give you a hint. I've never freaking heard of this.
Really?
Nope.
Okay. Then I'm way wrong.
Then my answer is not going to work.
Nope. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, release.
Okay, I don't know where you got that, but
Yeah.
Thriller makes sense.
No, Nick.
Actually, both incorrect. Candle in the Wind.
Ah,
Really?
Who sings that? I don't even know what that is.
where's
Elton
Karen
John.
when you need her? Karen, Candle in the Wind.
Who did you say, Jeremy?
Elton John.
Oh.
Elton John.
Oh. Sorry. I don't know. I don't.
All right, one more.
Oh, are they talking about the Princess Diana tribute version?
Oh,
Is that what
yeah,
it is?
probably. That would make perfect
That
sense.
one probably okay. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Give us one more.
One more? Okay.
One more.
It ran out of questions. Hold on. I got another one. Here we go.
Here we go.
Are you ready? What is cynophobia? So CYNO phobia. Cynophobia. What is cynophobia? Fear of something.
Okay, I
I have no idea.
I'm going with fear of horror movies.
That's a really good guess. You don't have anything, Jeremy?
Should have updated.
Oh,
Oh.
fear of the color cyan.
I love that.
if he's right, I'm going to be.
Unfortunately, neither are correct. It's the fear of dogs, which I would not have guessed. I would have thought that would have been like caninophobia or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're really afraid of dogs?
Mhm.
I had a bad.
Oh gosh, amazing. That was good.
All right.
You guys did a great job.
No, but that's it. I mean, so again, this is sort of just an interesting example of how something like this can be used to run a show or remote interview where different people can have control of the data. Jeremy being in Atlanta, me being in Folsom, and the switcher being somewhere else. So, I mean, just sort of all comes together in a way that, is kind of interesting. So, yeah, a different use for technology that now officially this is released, the product is out there. I think it's coming into the channel for the dealers here shortly. What else should we know about this, Jeremy?
Yeah, so it is subscription based. So there is some pricing that goes along with that, but also it does give that a lot of flexibility on how you move in and out of the Flowics account, what different add-ons you may necessarily need. So that also gives you the capability of kind of starting to crawl before you run by starting off small, adding different pieces, different widgets here and there, and then adding on the additional modules as you get to it, because there's a lot of stuff you may never need, but there might be some cool little tricks that you most desperately will need for your production. And so having that one little add-on will benefit you as it goes. Or just the flexibility of having multiple different users that can do that content creation, but then you're only outputting that single channel because you're only doing it. You've got one output that you necessarily need, But you might run into a situation down the road where you're doing multiple productions. You need multiple different outputs now at this point. So now that gives you the capability of then growing your Flowics account that way. So there's a lot of cool stuff still to come. And I know a lot of our dealers are pretty excited. Our end users are incredibly excited about this.
Yeah.
So it changes the game and makes things a lot easier on the graphics side of the world.
My favorite part of this is being able to, answer the hardware question, because that's always whenever you're talking about graphics, right? It's like, what hardware do I need? What computer do I need to run this? I'm like, whatever you got. I mean, I'm on a Mac right now controlling mine. You're on a PC probably. I mean, it's just, it takes the hardware question out of it because it's all cloud based.
Yeah. You're just on the web logging in. Yeah. It's all done in the cloud. So.
Oh, look at that. Somebody answered in the chat for us.
Elton John.
Yeah, there it is.
So sorry.
Boom. Boom. I love it. All right. Listen, this has been a lot of fun. If anybody has any questions, now's a great time to ask them and throw their questions in. If not, I mean, this has been a lot of fun. Jeremy, I want to thank you for being on the show today and being so nimble in the moment with everything that we got going on. If people have more questions about Flowics, obviously they can reach out to us, or they can reach out to you directly. Where do they find you?
Morris at NewTek.com.
Wait, say it one more time.
That's where you find me online. Yeah. Morris at NewTek.com is my email.
Perfect.
I'll actually put it back in my Flowics account.
Hey,
you're going to put it in there? Oh,
there it is,
and
there it is.
boom.
Yeah. I'll
Fear of Cyan.
Fear of Cyan at NewTek.com. Oh, man.
If I had access to our... that would be kind of fun if I were able to change that, but now I can't. That would be fun to do. So, any questions like that, please feel free to hit me up. Or bug Nick, by all means. I'll give you some phone number if you really want.
No, we're good.
Oh my.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Tech Support. Catch us next month around the same time when we do another episode, answer some more questions, and look at some new technology, as well as just talk about the news and broadcast industry that might be affecting you in the coming months. So with that, Jordan, I'm going to call it done.
Let's do it.
Here we go. Do we have like a bumper that rolls us out?
We absolutely do.
Oh, of course he does.